What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Lumsden Motorsports Garage. I'm Wade Lumsden, and today we're going to jump back on to the hobby stock / street stock build that was supposed to be temporarily for the modified, but by now you guys have seen that I went a different route, and there is a crate motor sitting in the modified. So we'll get back onto that shortly, but for right now we are going to jump back onto this and cover a couple other things. So let's get to work. Okay, so first things first here. When we did this, it was kind of chaotic, and yeah. Anyways, we did it. We degreed the cam, and then we just moved on. We didn't show you how to check that it was cam or that it was degreed properly. Check it against the numbers on your cam card. None of that. We just degreed it and moved on. And I also did it incorrectly, I guess. I used the exhaust port or the lifter that would go to the exhaust valve instead of the intake one. You should do it off your intake. I mean, really, in a perfect world, it works out to do it off of either, but you know, because valve timing is valve timing, right? So I should be able to check the valve, the locations for the valve timing, and it should still read okay, but really you should be doing it off your intake. So I'm going to quick put this back together, do the valve, do the cam, degree the cam one more quick time, and then show you how to verify that it's correct versus the numbers on your cam card. And then the other little piece of this video, there's actually going to be no real assembly. I think by the time we get done doing this, it's going to be a long video anyways. But we're going to talk about Quench, how to find your Quench, calculate your Quench, and all of that happy stuff, because we are getting really close. Oil pan and oil pump came in, so we're pretty much ready to start putting the bottom of this thing back together, finish doing that, and then we got to move on to heads and stuff, right? So we might as well prep and make sure that we're ready to do that as well. So let's get into this degreeing of the camshaft and checking it stuff real quick, kind of as a part 2 / follow-up of the last video. So here we go. Oh my god, I haven't been recording this whole time. All right, well, this is round I don't know how many, because in re-recording all this for you, I just went through this whole process and realized the camera didn't pick any of it up. So here we go one more time. Oh my goodness. All right, so I got my homemade plate here. Stops my piston before top dead center. Okay, we are up against it right there, and we get a reading at 35 degrees. Now we're gonna go all the way back around until the piston touches again. Okay, and we should get a number, and that number is 1. No, sorry, that number is 4. So we got 34 degrees plus 4 is 39 degrees. Divide that by 2. That is going to be 20 degrees, basically 19.5. Should be able to crank this thing all the way around. It'll stop there. We're going to back our bolt out so that we can continue on. And then if we go to 19 degrees right there, check it out, 19 degrees, boom. We are now at top dead center. We are at measured top dead center right there. So what we do is we loosen our wheel, and we actually put it to 0 where it is actually top dead center, right? Okay, now that we know where top dead center is exactly on the wheel, we're basically done with the plate. You can take that off if you want. I just leave it on there with it all backed out. We are now going to go over to the valve, or rather the lifter. So last time I did this, I set it up on the wrong hole. This is now on the intake hole. Let me lift you guys up so you can see in there just a little bit better. This one's the intake. So this is what we got to do. We now need to find the peak of the lobe lift. So we're going to spin this thing around, and the lifter's going to start coming up. Like that. And once it starts going back down, we'll know that we found the peak. It's already at 0 because like I said, I had already done this before. So right there on the 0, great, you'd zero out your gauge if it wasn't, but that's your peak. Now you're going to go 50 thousandths past that when it comes down to the 050 here. Oh, a little bit past. So you always want to come to it spinning in the clockwise direction, right? So if you go past, you got to back up past it and then come back to it. There we go, 50 thousandths. Now I'm going to look at my wheel here and get a number. My number is going to come from the small set of numbers on the wheel, reading in this direction. And I like to put the tension back in the same direction because this is just a little bit loose on there, in the same direction as what I started with. So I got to put a little bit of back pressure on it. And that is going to give us a reading of 29, right? So see how when I drop it down here, it actually drops to like 27, 29, because my 0 was found with tension hanging over here, right? So we're gonna go 29. I'm gonna write that number down, 29 degrees. All right, and now that we've done that, we're gonna go back up to the peak and we're gonna come back the other direction, which we'll have to pass it and come back to it, 50, boom. And we're gonna get another reading. Our reading here, again, this is leaving some tension going this direction in the counterclockwise direction, and we're reading off the low bottom numbers here, 19, 119. So we're gonna write that down real quick. All right, so now the important part of this is the 29 plus 119. We're gonna add this together. Don't worry about these numbers, that was from earlier when I had already done this before. we're gonna get 148. We're gonna divide that by 2, and that is going to equal 74 degrees right there. All right, now that we have that 74 degrees, I should be coming to 74 degrees on here. Oh, we passed it, sorry. 74 degrees here, which is gonna be right there. And if we did that right, yep, look at that. Lands on the peak. So we know the peak is at that 74 degrees right there. Okay, so now we have, still using the small numbers here, we got that 74 degrees, and so we rolled this over to 74 degrees using the small number. Okay, And if we go up to the large number, we will be at 106 degrees right there. So this says that having that set up and reading that and putting this at that number that you calculated, this going to the 106, that is telling us that right now the center line, the center of the lobe of the intake valve, is sitting at 106 degrees. Okay, according to my cam card here, my lobe center should be 99 degrees on the intake. So that means I'm way off. That means I did it wrong the first time, especially when I set everything up off of the exhaust. So my bad. So we're gonna run through. I'm gonna adjust the cam again real quick, and we'll run through this again, and hopefully when we do it that way, our numbers all come out right, and then we can check it to the rest of the check the rest of the cam card. It's where it opens, where it closes, and all that happy stuff. So let me readjust this. I'm gonna do all of the other stuff again off camera, and then I'll do the 50 thousandths number with you guys. So here we go. All right, so I just want to clarify this. So I'm at the 74 on the low number, right? And what my cam card says is I should be, my lobe center should be 99 degrees on the intake right there, 99 degrees before top dead center. Well, here's TDC. We come around, 99 degrees is here. We're at 116. So we're 7 degrees off. That means when I originally did my cam timing, I must have been a little lixdexic, and I advanced it 4 more degrees instead of retarding it 4 more degrees. My bad. Is what it is. Let me get that fixed. I'm gonna get the that means I got to take the gear off down below there, rotate it to the retarded position, and get everything buttoned back on here. So I'll come back to you. Alrighty, so we're reinstalled. We're gonna come up to the 50 thousandths from the peak. I already went to the peak and went back. That number is going to be 127.5. 127.5. Let me write that down. Then we're going to go to 50 thousandths after the peak. And we're going to get a reading of 37. Add those together, 164.5. Now we're going to get 82.5 after we divide that by 2. So now on the wheel, I'm going to go to 82.5. And that should be right at the peak. And it is. Voila! Our peak is at 82.5, where we calculated it. So now we'll go back to top dead center here. We'll actually go past it. So in rotating, my cam card says that at 50 thousandths, so right now we're actually way past it. We're on the low part of the lobe. We're going to zero out again. Okay, so now we're going to turn this till we're 50 thousandths into an opening, and according to this, 50 thousandths. At 50 thousandths, the intake should should be at 29 degrees before top dead center. And if I come over here, we are at 29 degrees. So, I'll show you what I mean if you guys need a better look. Right here, we're at 29 degrees. Remember, we zeroed this out on the back side of the lobe where there was no lift, so it's completely zeroed out. And then we cranked the dial indicator to where it had 50 thousandths of the lift, and then that stopped at 29 degrees, which according to the cam card, before top dead center, TDC is right here, 29 degrees, right? And so it should also close at 47 degrees after bottom dead center. So now we're going to crank until we're at, there's the 180 mark, so that's bottom dead center. And our goal, if all things are right, this should go to 50 thousandths, or rather should stop at that 50 thousandths at 47 degrees. Oh, yeah. There we go. Whoops. So you can go all the way back to 0, right? There's 0. And come back 50 thousandths from it. Then if we come and look at the wheel here, we're looking for 47 degrees after bottom dead center. Bottom dead center, 10, 20, 30, 47 degrees. 47 degrees after bottom dead center. Boom. Now the lobe center should be at 99 degrees. We'd already checked that. Right at 99 degrees, maybe 100, 99, 100, somewhere in there. But that could be in the dwell. I'm sure I could back that off a little bit. That's still in the dwell there. So, intake opens when it needs to, closes when it needs to, lobe centers where it's supposed to be. Alright, so I just want to make sure, because the confusing thing on this normally is the math, right? So we found our two numbers, our 50 thousandths number on both sides of the peak lift, okay? We found that one of them was 37.5 and the other one was 127. We added those together, got 164.5. And then divided them by 2. That gave us the 82.25. Okay, and then we came over to our wheel here. And we're reading this direction on the bottom number to 82. Okay, and then we are translating that up to the large number, right? Which is, now our numbers are going the opposite direction, right? So now we're reading from this way, 80, 90, we lined it up with the 82 down below, 95, 96, 97, 98 and a half, 99, depending on which angle I hold the camera. But basically 99. As long as you're within 1 degree, you're good. So that's the 99 for the center of, that's the, where the lobe center 99 on your cam card is coming from, and that's how you translate it from the number that we calculated. I just wanted to make sure that that was clear, because sometimes it's not clear and you end up running around in circles. So when we did all this off the exhaust, it messed us all up, and we ended up advancing the cam, and what I ended up having to do is come back and retard the cam back to standard. So in the end, I guess I, did it wrong twice, because I did it once and that told me to advance the cam, and then I did it wrong again and that told me it was right, using the exhaust portion, but reading the wrong numbers and stuff. So I mean, I way messed it up. So that's the easy rundown, or that's the quick rundown on degreeing the cam. I'm glad I did it again. That way it was correct. Now I gotta lock it in place, and do that mess. So I hope that was way more clear than last time I did it. Yeah, sometimes filming and trying to talk and all the distractions makes it to where things just don't happen the way they need to happen. I'm glad I came back and reapproached this. So, degreeing a cam, done. We are degreed. Perfect. All right, guys. So let's quickly discuss Quench. Quench is the space from at top dead center, the space from the top of the piston to the bottom of the head here. This little like C looking thing is supposed to represent the head gasket. So there's a clearance in here, in this area. The tighter it is, the more control you have over the flame inside the cylinder. The looser it is, you obviously, there's a difference between trying to control something in a big space. Think of it like kids, right? Or animals. You give them big space, they're a little harder to wrangle than if you put it in a smaller space. So I'm not sure if that analogy works great or not, but bigger space, you have a little bit less control over your flame travel and stuff inside your cylinder. So the goal is to make this as small as possible, like up into here, right? So that you only have this much space and you're squeezing the fuel more, and all of that happy stuff. There are really cool videos out there that describe all of this and its effects and all that stuff. Basically, for our application, we want to be 0.035 to the absolute max is 0.060 that we want to go for. Once you start going above 60 thousandths in your quench, you can start creating detonation problems. Now I think there are some applications where you want to get up into like the 90 thousandths, but I think that has to do with like forced induction stuff. For our application, this is the ballpark we want to be in. Okay, and the reason why we want at least 35 thousandths of clearance here is when the piston gets hot, it expands, right? And so we want to leave that 35 thousandths clearance when we're measuring for heat expansion, so this piston and rod doesn't get longer and start smacking the bottom of the head. So quick way to check that, back to our wonderful dial indicator here, we find top dead center, true top dead center, with our dial indicator here. So we're going to find the high point. I'm trying to do this with one hand, so it stopped there. Let's zero our gauge out. Okay, zeroed. So now we want to know what the difference is between here, which we know our piston is down in the cylinder, right, and here. So really, we need to get this rotated over onto the deck. Take a reading. Boom. You can also zero it here if you want. So we're at 0 there. And so now all we're going to do is rotate our assembly to be there. And it looks like it moved 29 thousandths. Looks like it moved 29 thousandths. Right? So that's generally how you do it. The reason why I try to measure in line with the wrist pin here, because you don't get really any movement or anything. Many people will measure the difference way down at the top and bottom of the cylinder, like so, right? So we'll zero out here. Whoop. Okay. 0, and then we'll get it over onto the piston. Okay, and it looks like it moved 10, 20, 35, 36 thousandths, right? But on the far end, you can see I'm pushing down with my fingers here on the ends of the piston, and it's affecting the reading, right? That's that rock that you can get with the piston, right? Minimum, maximum. A lot of people will take the minimum, the maximum, average them together, and use that. I tend to try to stay on the safe side of things. Ooh, and use the maximum changes. Use the most extreme deal, because I want to make sure that I have enough space here, right? So we measure one more time. Again, this isn't perfect, right? Like, this isn't. If we wanted to do it absolutely perfect, we'd have this thing perfectly straight up and down, and we'd be doing our best not to be rocking the boat a whole lot here. So we're dropping. So that one dropped 29 thousandths. So if we just guesstimate, we've done 29 thousandths, right? Push it up, that's 25 thousandths. If I push it down, it's 30 thousandths. So the least amount of space possible. But if we did the 25, if we did the 25 and the 30, and then divided by 2, we would get, oh my goodness, 27.5, right? We get 27.5. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to our gasket set, and we're going to figure out what our crush is on our head gasket. This right here. Crush on our current head gasket is 0.039. Now we're going to add these two numbers together. So 39, and this is going to give us 0.5 here, 6. 66.5. We have a lot of Quench. Again, not exactly a DIY, right? Like, this is just me showing you the premise. When I actually set up and did this like really well and had both hands, I calculated out my Quench to be 62 thousandths of an inch. So we were still over 60, and that's using, I had the gasket set here, and I looked up the part number to this head gasket that came with my kit, and like I said, it's got a 39 thousandths crush. So that's a lot for us. We'd like to be, you know, like I said, down in the 35 thousandths, at least in the 40 thousandths range. So most likely what I'm going to end up doing is going to Summit and getting a thinner head gasket to bring my Quench down. So that's the basic premise of Quench, and yeah, I hope that made sense to you guys. If it doesn't, you know, let me know, I guess. Again, there's a bazillion videos out there on YouTube that cover Quench really, really well. I just, you know, bringing it to your attention in case that's stuff that you've never heard of before or anything like that, so you can go do your own research on it too, right? So sweet, moving on. Alrighty, so one last thing I forgot to mention was when you're checking your Quench, you should check your Quench in multiple cylinders. That way you're, you know, triple checking all of your work. But anyways, other than that, I think that's going to be it for this video, guys. Actually, I think it's already pretty long. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, put them down below. I hope this thing was clear for you guys. Again, not a DIY. There's a heck of a lot more videos out there that are much better. I just I know I made mistakes in the first video that I did, so I needed to jump on and correct those. And it's weird how you'll do something and it'll feel like it's all right, and then you sleep on it and you're like, oh my goodness, what did I do? Or in my case, I was editing video and I went, what am I doing? So, oh my goodness, that's in the wrong spot. Like, it was not good. Anyways, that other video should give you a decent premise on stuff too, but this was me correcting most of my mistakes there. So yeah, any questions, comments, concerns down below. Thanks for watching, guys. We got a lot more stuff coming. The scramble is on to get the modified finished and to hopefully get the engine finished as well. Next steps are we're gonna button up the bottom, I'm sure, so that'll be next video. Get the timing chain cover on, get the oil pan on, get the oil pump in, and then we will start doing top end stuff. So like I said, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next video.